And so to see that woman get lost and find herself again and get lost again, like that to me was really compelling and exciting. I mean, to me, it felt so clear and so obvious who Lily should be, but I also felt deeply protective of her from the moment that I read her story, that like if she was interpreted in any other way other than how I saw her, that would have been very upsetting to me as a fan, as an audience member, which I imagine is how all fans feel. It was just important to me to show a woman of multitudes, to show a woman.
I think that like Baz Luhrmann and I are probably the two people who love romance more than anyone ever. Like I see fireworks, and I realize it's probably, you know, visions of fireworks, but like that's how I just love romance. So Colleen.
Yeah. So like he's the king, you're the queen.
Oh wow, my gosh, thank you. I think my Ryan, the king, he's so romantic.
Is he?
The stare, Gosling's got that stare thing for sure. He does that stare
So
thing.
you're also not voting for my Ryan?
Well, I think Ryan is incredibly romantic. By the way he wines and dines me.
Hi friends, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. There's been a lot of buzz about It Ends With Us, and one particular moment stands out: the delay in filming back in November 2023. This was when Blake put filming on hold, and suddenly a 17-point list of demands surfaced. Everything had to be negotiated, every condition met, or she wasn't returning to set. What's interesting is that this all happened on November 9th. That's the exact date they received this letter outlining all the requirements. And I've always wondered, why November 9th? Why did it have to be that specific day? What was so significant that made it urgent to finalize everything right then? There had been a long gap between when filming was halted due to the strike and when it resumed. During that time, there was no tension, no arguments, no resistance. Everything seemed fine. Blake had wanted to see some cuts of the film, some footage. The last time she requested it, Bond refused, saying he wouldn't bring it to her. But then, out of nowhere, on November 9th, she sent this email stating, "I'm not coming back to work unless you meet these demands." There hadn't been any prior signs of trouble, no conflicts, no disagreements. So why, all of a sudden, did she take this stance? What changed? Well, I think I may have found the answer. And honestly, it might surprise you, or maybe it won't. You might not be shocked at all. But the answer has to do with filming schedules. On November 9th, Ryan Reynolds announced that Deadpool 3 would resume filming. Production was set to restart just before Thanksgiving in 2023, with most of the filming taking place in the UK. While Always Malmer, some scenes were shot in Vancouver and a few in the United States, the majority of Deadpool 3 was filmed in the UK. The final phase of production also took place and wrapped up there. Ryan's movie, which had also been delayed due to the strike, was scheduled to shoot from November 23rd until January 24th in England. And here's the interesting part. The announcement that filming would resume was made on November 9th, the exact same day Blake Lively sent her letter of demands to Wayfarer, even before their production had officially begun, just as Ryan was about to start filming. Deadpool 3 and Blake's project were scheduled to film at the same time, meaning she and Ryan wouldn't be together. This really, really bothered Ryan. He didn't want to be separated from her at all. Justin took the unusual step of reaching out to Ryan directly, assuring him that he would do his best to get Blake back to him a few days earlier than expected. I found it surprising that a film director would personally contact an actress's husband just to reassure him that she'd return as soon as possible. Ryan responded with gratitude, saying, "Thank you for understanding how much it means to me, personally, to have my family reunited as soon as possible. Nothing means more to her either. I can promise you that. We're hardwired to keep our family together. It's what keeps us strong. But it's also what breaks us when we can't. We never split up, ever. That was a huge priority for us on this film. I tried to push our start date, but Marvel had already booked the studios last July, and the timing had been leaked. I've been frantically working on my third pass of the script to address structural changes, but mostly to reduce the budget and shorten the shoot so I can fly back with the girls when school starts. We see and truly appreciate the adjustments you've already made to accommodate her schedule, especially given the film she had previously committed to, one she was thankfully able to step away from gracefully. She had tried before, but never shared how difficult it was. All this to say, I'd owe your line producer a massive favor if they could figure out a way to start 2 weeks earlier. I completely understand how big of an ask that is, but the perineum is one of the most sensitive parts of the human body, to expose to trauma. So, looking forward to seeing you and thank you again for everything you're doing. So, he's openly admitting he was so apprehensive about taking on both films at the same time because they wouldn't be together. He wanted his family to stay close. A lot of the on-set issues, like the rule that she couldn't be alone in a room with another man without a third party present as a chaperone, just scream jealous husband to me. I think his inability to be there and control the situation is at the core of this. We already know they had a strong motivation to take over this film, but I also believe there's another layer to it. Beyond wanting control, there's a clear effort to alienate him. But more than that, his jealousy and paranoia about his wife being around other men, especially without him there, seem to stem from a lack of trust. And maybe that lack of trust isn't about her at all. Maybe it's because he doesn't trust himself. After all, Ryan's a cheater. I know it's hard for some people to understand that multiple motives and factors can exist at the same time, but it definitely seems like his jealousy played a role. He didn't want her away from him. When he announced on November 9th that filming would resume, her lawyers, completely out of nowhere, sent an email stating that she wouldn't return to work unless her demands were met. The production team had already informed her team that filming was set to resume on November 27th. Meanwhile, Deadpool 3 was scheduled to start shooting on the 23rd, meaning Ryan would be in the UK while she filmed in New Jersey. He didn't want them working at the same time. So, on November 9th, Jamie Heath reached out saying they needed to get aligned. He informed them that production was moving forward in New Jersey and sent over the schedule. That's when her attorneys responded. They list several non-negotiable demands, implying that Belden and Heath have acted inappropriately. By November 10th, they need to figure out how to respond. Production is working with Sony, trying to determine what they can agree to, what they can't, and what legal limitations prevent them from admitting to certain things. Then, they find out that Lively has said she could be available starting December 5th. However, before confirming, she insists on reviewing the updated script pages and a one-liner summary. The discussions continue, and on November 11th, Wayfair's legal team responds. They state, "In an effort to keep us on track with finishing the film, I'm writing to address what I understand to be a few key things your client needs moving. Moving forward, the key requests include the one-liner, the updated script, pages, and a chance to see a rough cut of the unfinished film. We're prepared to send the one-liner and new pages as soon as you give us the go-ahead. We just need to know the best way to get them to Ms. Lively. As for the rough cut, we can arrange a screening at any facility of Ms. Lively's choice within the New York area, preferably Company 3, as it already has the DCP and requires no further setup beyond scheduling. If Ms. Lively prefers a different location, we're happy to accommodate, but we'll need some time to arrange it. The director is willing to step aside if Ms. Lively would rather view it privately and can provide notes to address any missing elements. She's welcome to bring whomever she'd like to the screening." They offer these concessions, and 2 days later, Wayfair sends another email stating, "It has come to my attention that Ms. Lively may be in London at this moment, I wanted to inform you that Company 3 has a screening facility there. Please let me know if this would be more convenient for your client. We would be happy to arrange the screening there if preferred." She was already in London. Why? Because her husband was set to begin filming on the 23rd. They were preparing to wrap up Deadpool, and she was with Ryan. Then, on the 3rd, the council responds, stating that they are not open to negotiation. They insist it is a matter of protection and that the agreement must be signed regardless. By the 15th, they learn that Lively will not be available in November, requiring them to adjust the schedule for a December start. A new start date is set for December 11th. By November 20th, they notify Wayfair that Lively has approved the A-list producer, introducing him to Baldoni and Heath. Despite efforts, they are still working to secure her arrival by December 11th. Meanwhile, Ryan has already begun filming Deadpool 3 in the UK. According to the reports, despite working around the clock, Lively was ultimately unavailable, forcing production to be rescheduled once again, this time for January. Her unavailability was not due to other commitments, but because her husband wanted her on the set of Deadpool 3. He insisted she be there. It was clear he was interfering with her contractual obligations simply because he didn't want her working. He wanted her with him. It was also during this period that he likely decided she should have a cameo role in Deadpool 3. This is when. He probably chose to introduce Lady Deadpool. This would have coincided with the time they were filming the nice pool scenes as well, while they continued delaying the restart of her original project. Ryan is filming the Deadpool nice pool scenes, and Miss Lively appears as Lady Deadpool, killing Boney or Niece Pool in front of a flower shop. I don't believe she was originally meant to be in the film. I think this was something that developed out of frustration. Either Ryan was mad at Boney, or they were both upset with him. It seems like a way to retaliate by creating this character, as they enjoy planting little Easter eggs in their projects. He brings her into his film without Wayfair having any knowledge that she was involved in the project at all. The delays here seem intentional. He wants her on his set, working on his film. But since she can't officially be there, they keep finding reasons why she can't leave. During this time, he uses her presence to gain more control over the production of her other film. Finally, after all the back and forth, they agree that she will return to work in January. This leads to the January 4th meeting. By that point, on January 4th, Ryan and Blake are both in New York. At this point, Ryan is present at the meeting with her. They hold a January 4th meeting at her home, attended by Boney, Heath, a Sony executive, a producer, the A-list producer, and the film's first AD. The meeting takes place at Lively and Reynolds' New York apartment ahead of the scheduled production. Restart on January 4th, 2024. The team arrives prepared, production binders in hand, ready to move forward with the next phase of filming. However, Lively has different intentions for the meeting. She begins by reading from notes on her phone, outlining a series of alleged infractions from Phase 1. Reynolds then turns on Boney, demanding that he apologize to Lively for actions that either never occurred or had been grossly misrepresented. Boney refuses to apologize for something he didn't do, which further enrages Reynolds. Everyone in attendance, including the new A-list producer Lively had requested to join the production, as well as the Sony representative, leaves the meeting in shock. The new A-list producer later comments that in their 40-year career, they had never witnessed anyone being spoken to in such a manner during a meeting. The Sony representative later shares that they often reflect on the encounter and regret not stepping in to stop Reynolds' tirade against Boney. By this point, the production team had already agreed to Lively's demands and signed off on them. They were simply attending the meeting as part of the process to resume work. However, instead of allowing bygones to be bygones and focusing on moving forward, Lively reads from her phone, a prepared list of demands. It raises questions as to why she needs to read from notes if she truly remembers what happened. From January 1st to February 9th, they are back on set. During this time, Lively claims that absolutely nothing happens. She and Ryan are kept separate. For 2 to 3 weeks, Ryan is in post-production with Deadpool 3, while Boney moves into post-production on It Ends With Us. Both films are progressing simultaneously, with Deadpool 3 set for a summer release and It Ends With Us also, slated for the same time frame. Many of the conflicts arose while both projects were filming concurrently or when they had to be kept apart. It seems clear that Ryan didn't want her away from him or working with Boney. He wanted Boney to be perceived as a threat. That's where it becomes evident that he was acting like a jealous husband. What stands out as even more unusual is the fact that Ryan had to step in as a mediator. As a woman with her own career, Lively should be able to advocate for herself in a meeting. She has agents, she has lawyers, yet instead of relying on them, she had Ryan, which is fine, but bringing in a personal connection is not the same as legal protection. He was demanding apologies for things that never happened, and the way he lashed out on January 4th made it clear. He was doing this because filming was about to resume, and he was angry. He wanted Justin to know that he was the one in control. When production resumed, they wrapped on January 24th, and Ryan returned to New York. She finished filming on February 9th. During that time, nothing bad happened. All the issues arose when Ryan and Blake were together. When they were apart, everything on set was fine. But when Ryan was around, the set was chaotic, and her job became a mess. He was creating obstacles. At this point, it seems clear that they were planning to take control of the film. Many of the allegations, particularly those related to sexual harassment, appeared to be designed to give her more power. The list of demands granted her significant control over production, over lines, over key decisions. One of her claims was especially interesting. She included a demand in her amended complaint stating that she would never be required to cross a picket line. Yet Ryan had no issue crossing picket lines until July 14th. His set didn't shut down at all during the writer's strike, even though he was a writer. He continued working on Deadpool 3 throughout, only halting production when the actors' strike began. Ryan continued working on Deadpool 3 both as a writer and an actor, even as his set was being picketed. He crossed those picket lines without hesitation. Meanwhile, Blake was telling Bond that she couldn't do the same. When you break it down, it's a clear case of rules for thee, but not for me. Ryan was trying to control everything. The sexual harassment claims surfaced because they were angry. He didn't want her working elsewhere, and he wanted control over the film. It was twofold. The man was jealous, controlling, and possessive, while Blake also wanted more power. This was supposed to be her big comeback, but when you analyze the details instead of the bigger picture, it becomes clear. His jealousy and obsession with control fueled the entire situation. Did you know about this? Have any other creators talked about it? Has anyone else noticed? I don't follow a lot of other creators, so I'm not sure what's already been covered. I'm just sharing what I find as I uncover it. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing what you have to say. And while you're here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. All of that helps me out with the algorithm. Thanks so much. Guys, bye.